So hit it.
Hello and welcome to This is the Place Sports, the podcast. It's Valentine's Day, and I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing on Valentine's Day than hanging out with these guys. Dad, who do we got with us today?
We've got our good buddies Tony Parks and Jim Burton, and they're both here on extremely short notice, and we appreciate it, guys.
Hey, glad to be here anytime, man.
Jimbo, we won't tell everyone that you were literally called 5-10 minutes ago, right?
I was having a great dream.
That I was on the podcast, and it came through. Now, we appreciate having both you guys here. A lot to talk about in sports. Let's start with the local team. I think Tony's wearing the gear that what we want to talk about. How about those Utah Jazz? Tony, you've been to the games and that. What's with these guys? Are they the best team in the NBA, as their record indicates?
Well, I mean, the way that they're performing, yes, they're performing as the best team in the NBA right now. I mean, it's a whole different level than I think we've seen in a really long time. Jim, I know you covered the Jazz for, a number of years, and, the Darren and Boozer teams were good. They didn't have this level, in my opinion. This is the best level of Jazz basketball that I've seen since 1999. You're watching the ball move with 7 passes in 9 seconds, open shooters, unselfish play, 5 men thinking and moving as one like that. To me, this has been every bit as beautiful as the Stockton-Malone pick and roll when you would just watch them shred teams at times and then they would go through. So I find everyone's kind of in this awkward position, like they don't want to jump too soon. They don't want to be like, oh, they're contenders, because then if the bottom fell out, then they would feel awkward and and naive. And no, it's okay. They're playing at a premier level, folks. They're playing at a championship caliber level. Does that mean they'll win the championship? No, we don't know that, because they have to play out the playoffs, and there's other really good championship contending teams. So we'll find out later on what that ultimate result ends up being. But for right now to say this is a championship team and this team has what it takes to win it all, you're not being, you're not jumping on some crazy hype train. You're not putting the cart in front of the horse. Watch the games. 2 budding superstars, an elite coach, 6 Man of the Year candidate. You've got what could be 3 All-Stars on this team. Joe Ingles routinely would come off the bench with Dirk, right? Those are 2 guys that were starters on this team when they were going to the second round and getting dusted in 5. So the point is, this team absolutely has what it takes to win it all. What becomes fun for all the fans and for every one of us that follow this team now is to see if it actually happens. But it's better than what it was before, when it was, hey, how good could this team be? But we all knew the ceiling wasn't anywhere near as this. So it's fun. Enjoy the ride. Let's talk about it. But let's stop being so shy and careful and cautious. We can say it. This is a contender.
Jimbo, do you agree?
I do. I think Tony hit all the salient points right there. And I love the take about how, people they're somewhat gun shy, I think, about jumping off and really getting excited. And to me, I think it's just fun. It's just a blast. It's kind of interesting to be away from it a little bit. I covered the Jazz and the NBA for 10 years,
Oh, Jimbo.
There. That was my alarm.
That was a rookie mistake, bro.
That was seriously. That was my alarm. I think enjoy it, and I love and I agree. The way they play is really fun. It's the principle, the glove. 5 fingers working together, and that is fun basketball to watch.
It sounds like Norman Dale from Hoosiers, doesn't it? That practice he had, or Gene Hackman's throwing the ball to the Hickory Huskers, telling them he wants to keep that ball moving, pistons popping, and 5 guys working as one. Austin, you're a little younger to remember the Stockton Malone era, but this is a fun era right now.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of the VHS tapes with Stockton Malone on them. They're pretty good. It is a ton of fun to watch the team right now. It's just like Tony was saying, they're shredding people. They're using the pick and roll with Gobert at the top of the key, and that's getting the shooters open. So it's really a double-edged sword if you're defending the Jazz when they're playing offense. Like, you're going to give up the dunk to Gobert in the easy, down the lane, or are you going to, give up the three-pointer in the corner? The Jazz are just a machine right now. It's awesome to watch.
Yeah, and the organization is structured and built right now that this is the very beginning of what could be, a handful or maybe even more years of championship contention. Like Jim, Dirk, you may remember, this reminds me a lot of that 95 team. People don't give that team much credit because they lost in the first round, but that was they were the second best team in the West. They were absolutely a contender. Crazy circumstances led to them playing the favorite in the first round. But the point is, this reminds me of that first group in an era like this where you say, okay, they are capable of it.
Got it. You alluded to it earlier, Tony. Let's talk All-Stars for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are obsessed with the All-Star voting and thinking the small markets don't have a chance of getting guys in and that. But are the Jazz worthy of 3 All-Stars? I don't think it's happened since Eaton, Malone, and Stockton went many, many years ago. And I actually made a trip with a buddy down to Houston to watch that game in the Astrodome. So, boy, those were the days, I tell you.
Boy, yeah. Well, no, I think they're worthy of it. Whether or not it'll happen is another thing. I mean, it was Quinn Snyder was an assistant on that Atlanta team that ended up with 4 All-Stars, if I remember right, in that one year. Now, the East was different than the West, we all know. So it's going to be a battle. They definitely are deserving of 2. And I think if they ended up with a third, I don't think it would be a bad thing whatsoever. It would be an interesting thing to see how all that's going to play out. What I find interesting, Jim, Dirk, and then Austin, is the idea that, here's what's cool about the NBA is it's not like college football where opinions start to make decisions for certain things, and you have this crazy, stupid way of deciding who the best is and all of that, and it's based on dumb logic and weird reasoning. But the point is, in the NBA, it's just standings that decide that. So that's what's cool about the Jazz with wins and losses. But when it comes to something like All-Stars, All-NBA, things like that, it does kind of revert back to some of that stuff. And when some of the players became frustrated about something like that, I don't blame them one bit, because that stuff is huge. It factors into Hall of Fame. It factors into the ways players are viewed and reflected upon. It factors into whether or not a jersey could be in the rack. Like, there's so many ways that this thing could play out. So whenever it would happen, I would be hosting shows, and sometimes different media members would be like, it doesn't matter. It's for the fans anyway. Who cares? It's like, whoa. This is serious stuff for these guys, and I actually think that they need to take it more seriously on the process to select these players, what is really winning, what the value of a player is, and why they should or shouldn't be on that team.
Jimbo, what are your thoughts on the All-Stars? I think right now Mitchell's 4th among guards, and Gobert is not even in the top 10 as far as fan voting. It doesn't match what Tony just said.
No, and it's I agree with Tony when he talks about what it means to the players. And it affects contracts and things like that. And so yeah, it's very important to those guys, and it should be. I remember covering the team, and there was always, you get around the All-Star break, and the guys there were certain guys that you knew didn't really. If they weren't going to make it, they didn't really care. They were going to enjoy the time off, and there's something to that, definitely. But man, I absolutely think. I mean, it's kind of that old Denny Green line. They are what the record says they are. Yeah, man. If the Jazz do, the guys are playing at a level where they absolutely deserve consideration. It's not equitable the way it's voted upon, which is, that's the part where the fans get involved, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because it kind of is ultimately for them, but it's unfortunate people just don't know. But that's kind of the nature of the NBA in particular. it's a little different with the other leagues.
I'll give you some quick notes here on fan voting as well. Mitchell fourth, Gobert not in the top 10, but the top 10 for guards in the West include Klay Thompson, who has not played a game this year, and Alex Caruso. Conley not in the top 10, and many metrics have him as one of the top players in the NBA this year. So fan voting, completely ridiculous. It's the fact that Caruso's in the top 10 and Conley's not even sniffing that just goes to show the power of meme culture. Caruso's a lot more memeable and Instagrammable than Conley, so that's helping his voting a lot, I'm sure.
And being an old guy, I don't even know what a meme is. So
Caruso, Alex Caruso reminds me of a BYU sophomore. I think that's one of my favorite. That's one of my go-to lines. They used to say it about. I can't even remember the guy's name. But Alex Caruso looks. He's a BYU.
Well, but back to it. I'm sorry, man. I can't get that out of my head. But your point about, okay, it's for the fans, and you're right, and you're saying, but it's got to change and all that. In college football, they have very flawed things, and everybody just accepts them. Like, it's the way it is. If you're not from this conference, then, it's, and we just accept it. Like, we just kind of nobody wants to see that, like all the stupid logic and reasoning, and we all just go, yeah, it's just the way it is. Well, in the NBA, one thing they've been able to do is change dumb things. So this is one of them I would strongly say they go to change. And the reason who haven't played in games and who are listed where they are, okay? And I love the fans to have a vote, but we need to minimize its strength when it comes to affecting something like this. If somebody like Rudy Gobert, which I think he'll be an all-star, but if somebody like Rudy Gobert wasn't an all-star this year, it would be one of the greatest snubs in the history of any sport for anything that's ever happened. And it would really show just how blind people are to what wins. When he got snubbed 2 years ago, it was pretty bad. This would be even worse, much worse, in my opinion.
Right. Got it. Hey, Tony's uniquely qualified for our next question, quarter 3 here. We're talking about the Bees and the Angels extending their agreement. Tony knows all about the Bees and the Jazz, but Tony, this is a good thing for Utah, isn't it, to have that affiliation between the Salt Lake Bees and the Angels?
Well, it's massive. It's massive to have it there. And by the way, this is not like a 3-year deal, folks. This is like a 10-year deal. This is serious stuff. The Angels' connection to Salt Lake City with a number of players that have been going there all the way back to, Sean Figgins, who was a part of the World Series team there in 2002. So the names go on forever and all of that. And having the Bees in this market is huge for fun, summertime stuff. It's a minor league team. We all understand that. But now with it being 25, 26 years in, and then something like that to extend all the way out to something like 36 years, you really get deep roots into what is happening. And I think that's important. I think it's special. When Larry H. Miller, took it over and made it the Bees, there was something very nostalgic about that. But now that new Bees team has certainly outlasted, I think it's close to both the Buzz and Stingers names combined, right? So it's kind of cool. Like everybody's like, oh, that's their new name. And it's like, well, it's about to just become the name. And I love that the Angels are there, and I love that with the weather that's going to be warmer here in a few months, we hope, and everything else going on, that we can get back to the ballpark. Because let me tell you something, out of all this stuff, I missed a number of things. I missed, believe it or not, hanging out with you guys in the media room and cracking jokes. I missed all the war stories and all the fun things we ever did. Jim, someday I'm going to tell the Fasinko story, and it's going to be all time. But I'm saying there's nothing I missed more. And Dirk, you probably knew it because you saw me there as often as you did. Same thing, Austin. I missed the park more than anything. There's nothing like that. It's truly special. It's beautiful. It's unique. And, we'll see what happens in these next few months. I know the bee season will be happening, and I look forward to being back there.
Jimbo's my go-to guy on baseball. If I have a baseball question, I call Jim up. And Jim covered the Ogden Raptors for a long time, and they had that affiliation with the Los Angeles Dodgers before the restructuring that's taking place. But
Yes.
Jim, can you just talk about that arrangement between Utah and Southern California? It's pretty strong because there are a lot of Dodger fans, a lot of Angel fans that live in Salt Lake and Ogden and Wasatch Front.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when Tony was talking about the agreement with the Angels, and I was thinking about how having worked in Ogden and lived up in this neck of the woods for so long, you hear there are old timers that still talk about the old Ogden Dodgers and Lasorda and Bill Russell and all those guys and Steve Garvey, who I'm sure probably has some children in the Weber County area. But I'm just saying, you kind of look at the numbers and you think, oh, there's just gotta be. But the Dodgers mean so much to the Ogden area, just like and years from now, I know that there are baseball fans, and in Utah, fans go to baseball games, minor league baseball games, to have fun and just enjoy it and spend a summer night. And so, yeah, man, I think for years to come, people will talk about those great the Angels teams and their affiliation. And I think about all the number of kids out there that gone to Bees games and are just huge Angels fans just because of that.
Yeah, it's special. And I'm so glad you're not putting together the back of everybody's baseball card, because I'm sure there would be stats like that you'd be putting on there.
Jim will be the best guy to write them. So,
There's a market for that, for sure. Yeah.
It's interesting. When Mike Trout was here, my colleague Brad Rock, I kept saying, you've got to come to the ballpark and see this guy. He won't be here very long, and he is very, very good. And for once, I got one right, but I listened to Klauke and everybody. And we know that Mike Trout was a special guy that came through here. But that's the nice thing about AAA ball is you're going to have some big names come through. And you're even going to have some veteran major leaguers that come on rehab assignments and stuff. So it's fun to get out there. And
Sorry, I just want to say, the one of the great things too is and it's unfortunate that the Raptors don't have that affiliation, but there were so many guys on that World Series championship team just recently that started out in Ogden, and it's fun to catch them at that time. I remember when Prince Fielder came through Ogden, and the old man Cecil came out to talk to watch him play, and just things like that, man. That's the beauty of minor league baseball. Just
did he ever leave the concession stand, Cecil, or was he?
We took turns because they'd have to restock the concession stand.
Prince was also.
Hey, he's got more money than you. I hope he bought.
One of these days, I've got a great story about Cecil Fielder, and when he came out to watch Prince for a while, and he didn't. He was very mistrusting of the media. And I had to finally explain to him,
wonder why.
Cecil, this is Ogden, Utah. I work for the Standard Examiner. I'm not trying to make a name for myself. This isn't the New York Times and all that stuff. So we had a nice conversation about that.
At the concession stand, it's funny you say that. I have a photo of Steve Klauke. People don't know this, but before every game, Steve Klauke stops by the beer cart, and it's part of his routine.
Oh.
For a pretzel. He buys a pretzel. But I one time lurked around him and kind of followed him around. It was like a Sunday afternoon, and I took the perfect shot of him standing at the beer cart with his money. It looked. It was a tight shot, so you couldn't see the pretzel.
Well, you could hold that against him when he runs for public office. Yeah.
Well, Austin, you lived in. We'll jump down to our fourth one in just a second. But you lived in Southern California. I'm sure a lot of people were bragging that they were their AAA affiliate was in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. It was all anybody in Santa Ana and the Anaheim area could talk about. They rave about Smith's Ballpark and how much the amenities there. You know, they love the nachos and the cafe au lait and the Little Caesar stand.
There's
they
a
have there.
theme going on here. Concessions are getting a lot of play today, guys.
Oh, man.
Well,
Love it.
We're going to fatten Tony up if we keep talking like this.
well, you know, the other
Trust me, I'm on my way, man. I put on a COVID-19. You know?
that's for sure. You know, but the other thing I want to talk about is, like, you know, it's really cool that, like, guys like Mike Trout come through. But, like, for me, like, and I'm sure it's the same way with Tony, like, a lot of the times the most memorable guys are the guys who don't really, you know, elevate to that level. You know, Tony and I worked together with the Bees, like 2018, I think it was. And I just have, like, the guys on that team were just awesome. I have so many good memories of, like, Michael Hermosillo. Ralston Cash was a great guy.
Oh.
Bo Way is an awesome dude. Jabari Blash, super cool dude. So, I think the Bees are just so lucky that it seems like the Angels organization feeds them just really nice guys come through town.
I just won a championship.
Yeah, they're very character-based organization. They've been incredible in all those different ways. You build a relationship with a lot of these guys too. And I don't know about you, Jim, in this way, but like when you had guys that were there for a while, there's this unspoken way that you get. Like, you don't fully understand how they feel, but you get how they must feel in these situations. They want to advance. This isn't where they ultimately want to be. It doesn't mean they hate everything around them, but we all become, and Austin, you probably remember this too, we all become fans of these guys personally for their personal journey. Yep. These guys, it's so crazy because I think AAA baseball compared to Major League Baseball, that the gap is smaller than, say, any other real minor level, like G League to NBA. I mean, League to NBA is not. I'm not dishing it at all. It's actually great. It's amazing basketball, but the gap is noticeable. AAA baseball to Major League Baseball, the gap's noticeable, but I think it's tighter than any other minor league gap to the Major League level. And you'll see it because players will come right up and, you know, all of a sudden they're batting 8 out of 12, and maybe they even make a career out of it, or they flame out, or whatever happens. There's at least a mild interchangeability. What's crazy is these are the very best of the very best, and the pay scale between one to the other is so wide. And then players even have talked to me about this. It's even as simple as a day off every week. It's as simple as more day games. It's as simple as, instead of getting up at 3 o'clock for a 6 o'clock flight where you connect and play the same night after traveling a time zone, you now get to charter after the game on a day game to have dinner in the next city, rest, relax. Like, all of it combined, they are right there. And there's so much uncertainty with what they're dealing with that you can feel sometimes the stress and the anxiety that comes with that. So you become very personal fans of these guys. And I've enjoyed all this. So what you're talking about, Austin, I don't want to speak for you, I feel like some of it comes from something like that.
No, you're totally right.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, let's jump to the fourth quarter, guys. Let's talk NCAA basketball, since we're jumping from the NBA to baseball, back to basketball. But there's a lot of talk about whether conference tournaments should be played this year. I think Gonzaga is a good example. They know they're going to the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. Why would they want to risk getting COVID or having any sort of problems by going to Las Vegas for 3 days and winning the West Coast Conference tournament? What's your guys' thoughts? Should they just bag conference tournaments this year? Tony, what do you think?
Well, I'm okay if they did. I really, really am. I understand the appeal to conference tournaments and things like that, but let's remember one of the biggest reasons why we like it. And one of the reasons why we like it is because of the fact that the fans get to travel to a destination or somewhere in the proximity. You all get together, you know, whether it's Vegas or whatever it is. Well, if that's out of the picture here, I'm okay getting rid of it. By the way, I would be okay with these one bid leagues saying, hey, if you've been the best team all season and there's only one team to go, we're cool if you go. Like, I love the Big Sky, and I've been at these Weber State basketball games now that they're allowing it, and it's been awesome to be there. But the one thing I always liked is when 6 teams would compete for that one bid. I didn't mind that because everybody going to the party minimizes those other games throughout the regular season greatly. And now coaches can't say that, and other people can't say these games are important and they're huge and they're blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, it's about 3 days in Reno, 3 days in Boise, 3 days in Vegas, 3 days in, wherever it is, Brooklyn, wherever these conference tournaments are for, say, one bid leagues.
Right.
So I would be okay in this one particular year if we had to say, look, you've had enough games to make the decision. If you're automatically going to be in, why would you risk something like that happen? Look what happened, and I'm a big Michigan fan, that's why I bring this up. The University of Michigan Athletic Department had to shut down for as long as they did, and now they're going to have their first game in forever. They've talked about how not doing anything for 2 weeks, they don't feel right. They don't feel at all back in any kind of rhythm, and it could really derail what was a championship caliber season.
Jimbo, does this mean if the bag conference tournaments that there'll be no Cinderellas at the dance this year? Because like Tony alluded to, there, part of the enjoyment of these conference tournaments was maybe a 6 seed that snuck through and got hot for 3 days in Reno and ends up going and having the big celebration and that. Given can we live without that this year?
I think we kind of have to. That's the bottom line. Is that's what you have to do that. The whole thing just kind of breaks my heart because I think about things like that, about how much fun those things are. I think about it in terms of being somebody. I think about the great memories I had hanging out with you, Dirk, or Tony, or just covering some of these conference tournaments. I was there when Keith Van Horn hit the big shots in Vegas and Majerus got off a good inch and a half off the ground. The guy had a pretty good vert, really. I wanted to challenge him to go, hey, Rick, I got so many great Rick Majerus stories. Got a lot of great stories in general, but one of these times we'll have to sit around and do that. But I always wanted to challenge him, like you and me, Rick. Let's see who can jump the highest, because I think that is one competition that I could have won. But think about years later, we talk about that and how much fun that was. And I mean, if the NCAA tournament is what it is, it's not what it used to be. It's corporatized, and it's not. I don't know. It's not what it was when I was a kid, which that gets into the nostalgia of it, I guess. But the conference tournaments were really kind of the fun thing, and the other part of it is it was always cool because they were there was a lot of them during the day, and you could just
right.
It was that championship week on ESPN, and it was so fun to just kind of watch that stuff, and then to actually be on hand for some of that stuff. So much fun, and I feel bad. I feel bad for the fans. I feel bad for guys in the media, but it is what I hate saying it is what it is, but it is, and it's a weird year. It's been a weird couple of years, and fingers crossed, knock on wood, that it's going to be that we're not going to have to be dealing with this a year from now.
Yeah, and to go back on that too, I think you're right. For competition, I'm cool with getting rid of it. For business with TV dollars and all of that, like you said, it is what it is, and they're probably going to do it, and teams are going to have to run that risk.
That's what I was going to say, Austin. This is a TV cash grab, isn't it? I mean, that's what these things were created for anyway, because they do play enough games to determine who the best team in the conference is.
Yeah, that's the only plausible explanation I can think of for why they would do it. We talked about this this week on our website, on our Facer to Facer, and yeah, I think that was the thing we agreed upon. And it really is a shame because, I really liked going. Me and my friends would go down to Vegas to watch the Pac-12 basketball tournament, every year, and that was a lot of fun. But, last year we didn't even get an NCAA tournament at all. So I think, we got to come back in measured steps. I don't think having conference tournaments is the way to do that, but I'm sure they're going to do it for the cash grab.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for participating in the 4 quarters. We're down to our parting shots. Austin, you want to go first tonight?
Yeah. Well, it was interesting. We were getting ready for the podcast this morning. We had ESPN Sports Center on, and you guys wouldn't believe this. They were actually talking about the Utah Jazz. So it seems like the Jazz have finally broken through the glass ceiling. They've reached the kind of level of play that would necessitate some national media attention. So hats off to the Jazz, and hats off to ESPN for noticing that they've won 18 of the last 19 games.
Jimbo?
I'm going to go ahead and, speaking of the Jazz, this last week was the 10th anniversary of Coach Jerry Sloan stepping down as coach of the Jazz after 26 seasons total within the organization, 23 as head coach, and I was able to write about some of my thoughts on that for the This Is the Place website, and to me, it brought back a lot of great memories about Coach Sloan. And the one takeaway, and I didn't add too much. I didn't really add any to the article that I wrote for you guys, but I was thinking about back in 2014. Back when I think CJ Miles was playing for the Cavs, and they came to town, and I got to know CJ a little bit when he was playing here, and I went to the visitors' locker room and talked to him, and Jerry was going to be in the stands that night, and I just asked CJ a little bit, and he started laughing, and he said, "This is," he said it's so funny because just a couple of days ago we were playing in Brooklyn, and Darren Williams. So they met at half court before the game, and they were just talking like guys do, ex-teammates do, and he said the conversation turned to, we used to get so mad at Coach Sloan when we were rookies, and he said, and CJ said, Darian and I looked at each other and said, he was 100% right. Everything that he told us was right, and looking back on it, I thought that was really cool the way CJ was so forthcoming about how he and Darren both were kind of laughing like we were so dumb when we were young. We didn't appreciate what he was saying, and it turns out he was 100% right. And so my hat's off to Coach Sloan, his career, him as a person. It was great to be able to get to know him, and may he rest in peace. He was one of the greats and one of the favorite people that I ever got to cover because he was just so pragmatic and matter of fact, and he was always really good to me. So hats off to Coach Sloan.
Tony?
I was in that Chicago Bulls locker room the night that he didn't come out for so long, and I could hear in my earpiece all the conversations about something's not right. Yeah, it was what an eerie night that was. And then the next day, the shocker of all shockers that he was finished. And one thing I'll say, great to see Darren Williams in the arena the other night, and that Darren has really handled that the way that he has, for people over an amount of time to be able to reflect, to use proper self-examination. I thought that was really cool. And I wanted to talk about something else about being in the arena. A huge thanks to all of the fans who have been there at the arena, and Jazz players who really gave me a lot of emotional support and, a quick word of encouragement. Back on February 2nd, I had the opportunity to be the PA announcer inside Vivint Arena, and it was a really special experience. And, being down there at floor level and then also being able to do what I love, the art that I love, and do it with the type of passion that I have. It was a beautiful night. It was wonderful to see the team play the way that they did. I mean, they got off to a great start. They were in a great rhythm, and it helped me get in a great rhythm. So I appreciated them for being so good. And let me tell you, being at that floor level, watching this team, you can sense they have a different level about them and a different edge about them compared to your average NBA team like the Detroit Pistons. I mean, it was so glaring. So it was cool to see. But thanks to all the fans who, you go to the arena for that many years. Dan's missed 7 games ever. So you go in there and you sit in that building and you hear that voice. It's a fabric and a piece of the arena. Then you hear a very different voice. That can be an uncomfortable sort of thing. Well, the fans were very welcoming, and they were very, appreciative and complimentary of my work, but then also just supportive of, hey, yeah, it's tough to fill in for that guy. I mean, he's the best in the league. And then lastly, just a big thanks to Dan, who had a lot of positive things to say. And he was, just very supportive. Contact tracing and this whole thing with COVID is why all the stars lined up. And then it looked like Detroit might not even play here. So it looked like it might not even happen. But that night was really special because I had a chance on with the Jazz fans in a different way with me on the mic and them in the stands. And when they bring the energy like that, it was the first game with 4,000 fans. And then the team plays like that. Not only does it make my job very easy, it made that job very fun. So Jazz Nation, you're the most welcoming, you're the most supportive. And then on top of that, you're the best. You bring it every single time. So it was special to be a part of that in the way that I was.
Well, Tony, I speak on behalf of everyone, I'm sure, and it's good to have you back. It's good to have you heavily involved like you were before. And, I think my final take is, having gone through this layoff business and been involved in this, you find out that the sports media in this town, there's a lot of really good dudes. And I got two of them, three with Austin here that I enjoy working with, and I could sit and talk sports with these guys for hours. But, it's not all about sports. We all have our good stories and all that, but they're just good people. And I just encourage you to follow these guys on Twitter. They're funny. I'm pretty boring on Twitter, but you
have your moments.
I have my moments. Yeah. I watch these guys, though, but, I think the thing we're learning through this pandemic is we're getting to know each other better and in less superficial ways. And I think that's beneficial. And, this stinks for everybody. We all want things to get back to normal, and they're slowly getting there. But in the meantime, just be kind to one another. And it's fun to see, and it's fun to see opportunities like Tony doing the PA to game coming out, and Jimbo writing again, and us to keep him busy doing the website and stuff. I mean, we're growing as people and as professionals, believe it or not, even though there are some hard times. So my thought is just keep the faith, brothers, and enjoy working with you. And I appreciate you guys being on the show this week.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Loved it.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys a lot. We're going to post this on all our platforms right away. It'll be on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all that. We also are doing another newsletter giveaway. I'm talking to our listeners. So make sure you sign up for our newsletter as well, and I'll send that out tonight and pick a winner. So again, thanks to Jimbo and Tony for joining us. This was a really enjoyable time.
Yeah. I'm going to say we do our weekly drawing for people who sign up for the newsletter. We had a bit of a celebrity win last time.
We
former Viewmont, Salt Lake Community College star and Hawaii star Gibson Johnson.
All right.
Is an assistant coach in Hawaii, right?
He is. Yeah, he's a GA there. Yeah, one of my childhood best friends. So
we had
That's cool.
He picked a Jazz hat, so we mailed him a Jazz hat to
all
Hawaii.
the way to Hawaii. Yeah.
All that extra postage to go across the pond, but we did that. But this has been fun, guys, and I appreciate it, and I encourage you to go to our website, and we have contributions from guys like this, and that's what makes it fun. It's a collaborative thing. So thanks again, guys.